Buenos dias still, right? Buenos dias. Good to see everybody. As you can see, I'm wearing Google Glass. And in fact, I've just videotaped about 10 seconds of you. And if I wink my eye like this, I've taken a photograph of you, so watch it. So I'm here to talk about innovation in travel with a focus on products and experiences. And Google Glass raises some very interesting questions about innovation and the process of innovation. So I acquired this pair of glass because I'm writing an article about ways that wearable computers, such as glass, might enhance the travel experience. Is this a little bit better? And it's been very interesting. I've worn it on just about every trip that I've taken in the last 2 months. So I've worn it on the streets of Sao Paulo, in Beijing, riding a horse in Texas. In fact, I was, let me see if I can get the PowerPoint here. There we go. And yesterday I went to Teoría and wore glass there. And what's interesting is that I found that for the most part, glass does not enhance my travels, particularly not my international travels. And the problem is very basic. In order to really get the most out of a wearable computer, you should be connected to the internet. And until the prices for data connections for international travel come down significantly, it's really, you are going with only 1/8 of the capability, even less than that actually. Because even if you think, well, I'll just, when I'm in my hotel room, I can just connect to the internet there, the way that they have set up the internet connections, you can only use it, you can only connect to a Wi-Fi system if it asks for a password, but not if it asks for a username and password. So most hotels you stay in ask for both. And if you can, it's a little bit cumbersome. You could link it through Bluetooth to your phone, but at this point you're wondering, why am I bothering? Because you can do just about anything with this glass that you can with a phone. So the two things that I found that you can do is, when you're traveling internationally, is you use the camera. You can take either still photography or video, or you can use it for translating signs. Now, when it comes to photography, it's actually much poorer an experience than your phone. You can't zoom, you can't compose. You sort of do everything by trial and error. You wink, you take a picture. I just took a picture. And you go, oh, well, gee, I have too much foreground, so I have to retake it again. So just about every picture I take, I have about 6 different versions where I'm trying to get the composition like I want it. So it's not really there yet, at least not for international travel. The translation on signs actually works pretty well. It's not too different from apps that you can also get for your phone, where you hold up the camera lens to a sign and it will translate it. This does not have as many languages actually as you can get through your phone. So my favorite aspect actually of wearing glass is that it's a great conversation piece when you're traveling internationally. You know, people will come up to you and say, is that glass? And so it's a good way to actually get to know people locally who otherwise you might not talk to. On the other hand, it also can be a barrier. There are people who, when you come up and you're wearing glass, they just go running. They think you're photographing them, and maybe you are. And it's just not, it's not comfortable all the time. But it is more useful if you are using it in your home country. Like I say, I was actually on a horse with glass, so I could go hands-free and I could just talk to it and ask it questions. And for instance, I saw a prickly pear cactus, and so you can tell it to Google something. There's a little screen here, sometimes will give you a reading, but in this case, I said, Google prickly pear cactus, and in my ear, this earpiece has a little speaker, it started reading me the Wikipedia entry for prickly pear, and I thought, well, that's really good. That's great. I didn't have to let go of the reins or anything. And then I saw a live oak tree. I said, Google live oak tree, but this time it just showed me pictures of the tree. It didn't give me the information. So I've spoken with, well, let me say, so in most respects, I've found glass to be a disappointment as an enhancement to travel, but is it an innovation that actually may become useful in travel? And the answer is absolutely. So I contacted Google about some of what I felt were impracticalities about the expensive connectivity as an option. And they just said, well, it's ridiculous there isn't free Wi-Fi everywhere. There will be. And at first I thought that was a fairly evasive sort of answer. But in reality, there are more and more communities that are making Wi-Fi available locally. And if you think about it in the way that early cell phones were, they were gigantic, and all they could do is they were a phone. And you can see how things evolved. And for all the many, many things that I've seen, I wish that glass could do this. Somebody is going to figure out how to correct all of those, and in fact are going to have new ways that the glass can be used. So I think that they are going to encourage it. It uses apps like a phone. So developers are going to begin to do apps, and I just know that there are going to be several having to do with travel that are really going to affect our lives as deeply as a phone. So really, the point really is that innovation doesn't have to be perfect right out of the box. When you look at innovation, particularly when you look at travel, you have to look at trends and potential. And when I look at trends that have potential, very often at the top of the list, I look at Disney. Disney is an early adopter of innovation. And let me show you something that they're doing now. There we go. Okay, so they have now introduced to the parks just a couple of months ago something called My Magic Plus. My Magic Plus is a wristband, and it has radio frequency identification. So what they're doing, and right now they're only doing it for people who are annual pass holders or who are staying at the resorts, and people who actually do, they pay Disney $12.95 for this, and then when they go, they enter, they don't need a ticket. They have to go online to a website and register their credit card number, register some other things about who they are and what they want to do. They can buy a pass that allows them to have every photograph that's taken of them. Disney has lots of photographers wandering around. For $199, take as many pictures as you want. And all of that is enabled by this. You can pay for your food at the Disney restaurants. You can do your shopping with it. So you can see that, of course, this is likely going to be very good for Disney. And in fact, they have said that the income is up 27% this last quarter, and they are attributing a lot of that to My Magic. And not only, when you think about it, does it help the people who have this have an experience that's has a little less friction in it, but it helps everybody else too, because if the lines are moving more quickly because of this, then actually everybody in Disney benefits. Now I think they have a little bit more time to think about how to get even more money out of you, and they have just raised their prices last week by $96. So it's they're doing some other interesting things in their tour operation. They're looking at weekend tours. I mean, this is a relatively large tour operator, but they're having very little things like this in all different parts of their organization. The other thing, when you think about the radio frequency ID, it not only enables theme parks to move traffic more quickly and make more money, but we all know that, for instance, you've stayed in a hotel perhaps where your key looked like a credit card, and it had a radio frequency ID in it, and it let you into the room. Take that a few steps further. When we talk about big data, we talk about this, and this is where lots and lots of innovation seems to be, it's driven by big data. So if I'm a hotelier and I have already given a radio frequency ID key card to a hotelier, or rather to my guests, then I could, with their permission, track them as they move around my property. So I can see this person spends a lot of time at the pool, this person spends a lot of time at the bar, this person spends, because they can pick up where you are if they have the receptors. And then the next time, maybe they find this person, even though it's an all-inclusive, they never stay on the property, they're just gone all the time. This can really help people to market to that guest as a repeat guest. They know what they like. They know where they are when they're on the property. And when they reach out to them again, they might want to really feature a picture of the swimming pool if they found out that that's where they hung out. Or if they're leaving the property all the time, talk about things that are nearby and around the property. So the thing about big data is it doesn't just take data that exists and treat it in new ways. It's actually getting new data. It's getting new ways of getting information about people. And you know, every time you press I agree on any website you go, you're basically giving them permission to do all sorts of things with the information that they are gathering about you. So I had asked, we have a sister company, Travel Weekly has a sister company called Focusrite, and these, it's a research company that looks particularly at travel trends, technology, and I asked all of their analysts in advance of coming here, what do you think is the most exciting things going on in innovation, travel innovation? And the majority of them had big data. And they said it's not going to be in ways that you necessarily can see or know. There was a big thing that happened last week in the US. The Department of Transportation approved it became a very controversial initiative that IATA is the airline organization. They wanted to change the way they did things that would allow them to use preferences that their past passengers have had and present them with new opportunities. There's a lot of resistance from people who are right now in an intermediary position, a travel agent, the GDS reservation systems, who are seeing this as a threat to them because they will be able to tailor. They know so much about you. If you've joined their loyalty programs, the airlines know so much about you, and now they'll be able to tailor things to you in ways that they believe will appeal to you. And you know, this is just, they're actually behind where many industries that aren't as tightly regulated are. So when you're looking at trends and you're looking at where things are going, big data just cannot be ignored. So I'm going to go a little bit out from what appears to be technological innovation about an interesting innovation that occurred 2 weeks ago. So I don't know if any of you have heard of the travel insurance company TravelGuard. So TravelGuard's a very big company. It goes under different names in different countries, global. It was started by a guy named John Noel. So John Noel, really, he was kind of an insurance guy. I mean, he saw different ways to package and products, and he was very focused on customer service. So he sold TravelGuard to a very large insurance company. And then he had an 8-year non-compete where he wasn't allowed to do anything in insurance. And about 2 weeks afterwards, he announced his next project. So he came to Warren Buffett, big investor in the US, and said, I've got this idea, and it has a potential to be a $4 billion industry, and it's called travel protection, not travel insurance. And what you do is if you want to use air care, you pay $25. You have to do it, I think, 2 hours before a flight is scheduled to take off. And in the event of a delay, sitting on the tarmac, missing a connection, having your luggage lost or stolen, if you're sitting on the tarmac in an airport for just 2 hours and 1 minute, you will get $1,000. So it's almost, and you can get multiple benefits. You could get, you know, sitting there and then you've missed your connection, you get another 500 for that. You know, it's like gambling. You're kind of betting against the airlines in a way. But it's something that's, I think is going to be taking off. It seems like it's not necessarily a technology innovation, but it is. In the background, it takes a lot of technology to make this happen, because if your flight is sitting on, delayed on the tarmac, Air Care is actually tracking that, and they will deposit through PayPal or a wire transfer the $1,000. So you're sitting there, you know, and miserable, everyone around you is miserable, and you're kind of hoping that the delay lasts another 5 minutes. And if it does, you get a little text, $1,000 has just been wired to you. So, I mean, this is really a fun innovation, and I think it's going to be very popular. And it doesn't seem like it's a technology play, but it is. And then the final thing I just want to talk a little bit about is the collaborative economy, so the share economy. Maybe you know it like Airbnb, Uber, these companies that have started because initially they were sort of thought of, I have a room in my house, I don't really use it that often, I could make a little money. There's these resources that aren't being used. I'm driving from here to there, and maybe I can take someone along and make a little money. So it sort of started out with these very collaborative spirit. And what it's turned into is really a major development in the travel industry. So if you look at I don't know if any of you have ever gone on Airbnb and actually looked at booking one of the rooms. Typically, you have to call them. It's not very easy to do. But if you call them and speak to them, they'll typically say, well, you know what, that property you're looking at, it's actually full, but I have 4 or 5 other properties you might want to look at. And Airbnb has become a place where property managers it's become professionalized. It's not about your aunt who has a room in the basement she wants to sublet. It's about people who saw an opportunity to use a well-known brand distribution, Airbnb, everybody has heard of it, and use that to run their business. And I read an article, I thought this was really hit it on the head. It's like franchising. And in the old days with a franchise, if you bought a franchise of, even a hotel franchise, you had a strict series of standards you had to maintain. And you paid a lot of money to do that, and if you didn't follow the standards, there's a chance you were going to be kicked out of the franchise. Anyone can join Airbnb, but what keeps you honest, what keeps you doing your best, is that the customer reviews are all there. So it's technology, once again, that enables this to happen. It's not just about reservations or advertising these rooms. It's also the continual feedback loop. This Uber driver wasn't very good. The car wasn't very clean. So the technology drives all of these different things. There are, my time is kind of up, but there are so many things going on, so many exciting things. And the bottom line is, even if they don't appear initially to be driven by technology, they probably are. And when you look at advances, when you hear about something new that's going on in technology, if you're in a position to actually apply that technology to your businesses in a creative way, you're halfway to what people would call innovation. So, thank you very much.